Thanks for supporting the channel by clicking the links in the description box. And thank you so much for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And now let's get into this podversation. What's up, everybody? We're going to have a podversation about Nene Leakes, and this time it's in regards to this interview that she did with Tamron Hall on Tamron Hall's new talk show. I wanted to talk about this, and this is not the first podversation we've had, guys, about Nene Leakes here, but I just wanted to discuss this because I really hate to see Nene Leakes in this way. Some people who hate her, they're probably loving it. They're probably feeling like, you know what, this is what she deserves. Listen, I like her. I don't dislike her. I liked her more so in the first seasons, and she had some quips and some sayings that I could dig and I could get with, you know, over the course of the show. But as her star started to grow and her money started to grow, she clearly started acting differently.
Here we go.
And one of the things that I've learned in my years of living is that money doesn't change people, it brings out who they really are. So if you're not a very humble person and you get money, then it's really going to bring that out. And Nene had a lot of ways about her that were just not likable. You can have ways that are not likable and you can still like a person or not hate them. But I hate to see her this way because she did her video where she talked about she made the decision to not return to season 13 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And you know, the way she was speaking in that video, she made it seem like she's the one that made the decision, but I already knew that that was not the decision that she made. She may have made the decision not to take what they offered her in terms of a few episodes and less money, but that's the way they let people go, unless it's something just like, you know what, we cannot have this person back at all. The Real Housewives franchise, they rarely fire people. They usually will just diminish their role and they become like a friend on the show, or they just may have a few pop-up episodes. And Nene, she has been off of the show before and has returned. So when she said she made the decision not to return, I think she said it that way because she wanted her fans to feel like, you know, guys, this is not my first rodeo. I've been here before where I've left the show and I've returned. So you'll be seeing me again, possibly, if I decide to come back and if the money is right.
If I am so much of an issue, I can show you the hand. And here it is right now. Bye-bye.
But just the segment that I watched of the Tamron Hall interview with Nene Leakes, it was a little bit like I was gritting my teeth and cringing a little bit, because I'm not saying that Nene is not hurt. I believe she probably is hurt. When you have something that you hold near and dear to your heart, and then unexpectedly, all of a sudden, it seems like you don't have that anymore, that can be hurtful. That can be even devastating. And for somebody to make the amount of money that she was making, let's just be honest, they way overpaid a lot of these people on these shows, but that was their decision to do business. And they were making the money, they were bringing in all of the advertising dollars, and it became a really popular franchise, a really popular show. So they were able to grow and expand over the years, but it is their show. Nene did not create the Real Housewives franchise, and she did not create the Real Housewives of Atlanta. She was just one of the first people on the show who continued to be on the show, besides people like Sheree Whitfield, Kim Zolciak, I can't even remember. Yeah, Deshawn, that was her name from the first season. She didn't return on the second season. And Lisa Wu Hartwell, who's now just Lisa Wu because she's since gotten divorced from Ed Hartwell. So yeah, they've diminished roles, or they've let people go this isn't the first time something like this has happened. But I believe that, this is just my opinion, guys, I believe that Nene's head just got really big and she just felt like there's just no going on with this show without her. And I'll be honest, I do believe she is hurt by the position that Andy Cohen has made, because she probably felt like he was more of a friend than he really was. She probably was more of a friend to him than he was to her. But for Andy Cohen, this is business. This isn't about friendships. He'll definitely make somebody feel like they're a friend if it's going to benefit his back pocket. Let's be real. And I heard a little bit of an interview that Kathy Griffin did on the Hollywood Unlocked show, where she was discussing Andy Cohen. And she said that he is very much like a queen, and he does things that are sneaky and conniving, and she thought he was her friend as well, and she learned that she was wrong. And she used to do the New Year's Eve show with the guy Anderson Cooper, from CNN, and then she said Andy just came for her spot and took her spot and backstabbed and betrayed her, and she was hurt by that as well. So I do believe that Nene is hurt, and so I'm not doubting that, but I hate to see her in this position because I feel like she was sleeping on the job. I feel like she was sleeping on the job and she wasn't up to taking care of business. This is a job. Even if it made you a celebrity, even if it made you a household name, people who never would have known about you now know about you, that's a blessing. She should have utilized the time that she had to really secure herself in a different position and just do something that is going to be her own. And yeah, she was doing some hosting gigs, and then she even was hosting some comedy shows, touring. She's been on Broadway. She's been on a couple of television series that are no longer airing. And she was pretty much playing herself. Even though she had a character name, she was playing herself. It wasn't a hard thing for her to do, to act the way that she was acting on those shows, because it's pretty much the way Nene Leakes acts.
I'm in the Hollywood Hills, but I still know how to get hood.
And the guy, Ryan Murphy, that hired her to be on Glee and The New Normal, he liked that about her, so that's why he brought her on board, to pretty much be herself, but just have a character name that you're going to portray while acting like yourself. So it wasn't a far stretch for her to do that. But what's making me cringe about it is because she keeps bringing up the fact that she feels that there may have been some type of discrimination going on because she was the only original Black housewife remaining, and now she's no longer. Never talked about this stuff back in those times. She never did. As a matter of fact, she was one of the ones that was calling for people to get removed from the show. She talked about her so-called best friend Cynthia Bailey, saying that she doesn't bring anything to the show, and she's not really interesting. She's kind of boring. She talked about Portia and Phaedra, saying, freak and fraud. they need to be, she didn't say the words fired, but she was basically saying that they needed to be taken off of the show. So honestly, she's come for more of the Black women than she has standing up for them or stood up for them. So now that there's this thing going on that's trending about support Black women, and Black women are the most unprotected group of people, and say her name, Breonna Taylor, and all of these things that are going on with social justice right now, it's just a low blow and very distasteful, in my opinion, to attach yourself to that movement because of your job. Because she was making a lot of money, and there is people right now that have been laid off from working on airlines Restaurants that they were working at have been shut down. Small businesses have been shuttered and closed and are never going to be reopening. People have lost their jobs. So it is just, in my opinion, it's really not a good look or a good time for her to be doing this pity tour because of her being removed from the Real Housewives of Atlanta and her feeling like it's not fair and feeling betrayed. She has a right to feel the way that she wants to feel, but my point in this is that her going around and doing these interviews and doing these videos and talking about it and making herself out to be a victim, instead of just making, that hard decision to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I was sleeping on the job. I missed my opportunity. I should have seen it coming. I should have prepared myself, because if they could do it to these other women, sure enough, my day would be coming. And if it didn't come, then great. But if it comes, at least I was prepared for it. And I feel like she just put herself on this pedestal to make herself feel like she was really more important than she was. Let's just say what it is. And that's sad, but I feel like that is the reality. If we want to talk about reality TV, that's the reality for you. You know what? That is the reality of it. She just really was sleeping on the job, and she really did not prepare herself the way that she should have. And to be 100% honest, I feel like Tamron was pandering to Nene. I get it. She wanted to help Nene put her guard down because she probably felt a little bit intimidated by this personality that can be very overbearing. And she's seen the videos that she's done, and she's seen her on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And something else they were giving you, but you decided to decline. And also the fact that Tamron said, well, I understand that you're not at home right now. You're in Miami. Is that correct? You needed to get away just to clear your head for a little bit. And she's like, yes, that's correct. Okay, how many people have the blessing of getting fired from a job and being able to travel away from your family and stay up in some posh place in Miami to clear your head because you want to get away from the talk of, and the chatter of what's going on in the blogs and online and in your city, because you are no longer on this show. And something else that drew my attention, she said this. Tamron asked her about the offer and the deal that was given to her, and Nene said that she was offered 6 episodes to appear on. And Tamron said, well, how many are you usually on? And she said, usually 18 to 23. So Tamron says, well, does that mean that you would make less? And she said, no, the money wasn't going to be less. I don't believe that. I think that's a big fat lie. I'm sorry. Because if that were the case, when you're always talking about pay me what I'm worth, she was always saying, pay me what I'm worth, in this, back and forth negotiations battle that she was making very public on social media. Because I get it, she's very much full of pride, but are you so full of pride that even though the money would be the same, you wanted to be on every single episode and that's what it was about, and it wasn't about the money, because you still would have made the same amount of money whether you were on 6 episodes or 26 episodes? I don't believe that. I believe that that is a lie. And then she says over the past 4 years, she's felt very forced out because over those past 4 years, her role, it was hilarious and ridiculous at the same time, because she was already married. She claimed that she and her husband were having some issues. She divorced him. Then he started courting her to get back with her. He, asked her to marry him, and then they end up having a wedding spinoff, we should say. I don't remember how many episodes it had, but she did get this spinoff, and I just thought that was kind of hilarious and ridiculous at the same time. I did watch it just out of curiosity, and because back in those days I was really hard into watching the show out of habit. But you liked it, and she just lit that bridge and burned it to the ground. I don't believe that there's any way of coming back from all of this, because she continues to go on and on about this. And Tamron Hall said that they did reach out to the Bravo executives and Andy Cohen for a comment, and they didn't give a comment. Now, that right there says something, because when she did her when she did her video saying how she decided to not come back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 13, that's usually the best way to handle things, because you never know who you're going to need in the future. And the Bible says that pride comes before a fall, and pride comes before destruction. The humble child tastes the grace. She is so non-humility, that's a word, or non-humble. She is really not showing any signs of humility. And for her to get on this Tamron Hall show, do this interview, make herself out to be a victim, almost like a battered person, it was just like, wow, this is bad.
Hilarious.
And if you guys watch the Tamron Hall, their own comment that was standing up for Nene, almost the consensus is like in the high 90% rate, where people are like, Nene is not humble. Nene needs to go somewhere and be quiet. Nene had it good, and now she's, crying and playing the victim. Like, nobody's feeling sorry for her. Like I said, just wanted to talk about this because it was like, oh my God, why are you doing this, girl? You're just making this worse. And hey, maybe she's doing like a Jaguar right thing. Here no more, so I'm just gonna put it all out there, and if I perish, let me perish, because I'm going to see the king. And with Nene, is almost like I said, it's almost like a Jaguar right situation. I'm not comparing her, saying she's saying the same type of things that Jaguar Wright is saying, but she's doing all of these videos and she's talking about things with regards to the housewives and Andy Cohen that are not very flattering. And when she made this video and she made this comment about how Andy, remember, nobody's out of that, and that's why most people want to be, if they want to be on the Real Housewives or any of these reality shows that have a big name like that, they know that they may not be long lasting and have the longevity like Nene has had, but if they can make themselves known, it can branch off into other opportunities. And those people are much smarter in that way versus Nene, who was just still relying on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And let's rewind. Remember when she got in a pandemic, right? Meetups at these restaurants and doing these vacations and all of these other things. Like, those are the things that were going on. So it wasn't that they were always being filmed in their homes. This is going to be different now. So they're having to cut back on what they're paying. And in business, that's what you do. You look to save money. You look to cut costs. What are ways that we can cut costs so that we can still see a profit? Because it's not a charity, it's a business. And I just believe that she was asleep on a job. Unfortunately, I feel that she could come back. She could. Worse situations with other people have happened over the years and they've been able to make a comeback. So we shall see. But do I see her coming back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta? I don't know. And she may have gotten offended by the things that Wendy Williams was saying, but did she lie? A lot of people don't like Wendy Williams, but that's what Wendy Williams does. She was doing her job. Yeah, it may not have been on her show, and she was being interviewed by Andy Cohen, but so unfortunately she didn't take heed and listen to that, and so she got hurt by it. I believe that Nene has this very hard persona that she puts off there, but I do believe that inside she is a very soft person, but she doesn't want to be hurt, so she puts off this very hard, abrasive personality for everybody for the most part, because she doesn't want anybody to feel like she is weak. But right now she is showing a whole lot of signs of weakness and vulnerability, and honestly not being very wise. These things that she's saying and these interviews that she's doing, it's just really not a very wise choice for her to be doing. The I believe her husband Greg really, really loves her, and I believe he gave her some good advice, but I don't believe that Nene listens to him very often, and she got used to being the breadwinner, and sometimes that can be a hard position to be in. Well, it is a hard position to be in, to be the breadwinner, especially when you are in a position where you're very vulnerable, because being in Hollywood and being a celebrity, let's just be honest, unless you're like the top A list and you've had a number of roles that have really secured you a good bit of dollars over time, all of these people are very vulnerable, all of them. And yeah, she's been on the show for a long time, but I don't really know how she handles her money. It's none of my business how she does. I pray and hope that she was smart about the money that she was earning. But a lot of times when these people start getting money, getting that new money, then they don't really know how to handle it. So they start doing the stuff, type of stuff that we saw her doing on the show. You're driving a Rolls Royce, you got the latest vehicles. This money, because you couldn't be making this much money from the show. One, you've just gotten back on the show and you haven't been on the show for a long time. Like, what else do you do for money? And you just start to question things. It's just the God's honest truth, especially the fact that her boyfriend at the time when she was brought back on the show was in prison, but that's another episode. But yeah, with the way that the lifestyle that she chose to live, and she said, I don't keep up with the Joneses, I am the Joneses. And when you don't have humility, it can, oh my God, the years that you're living and the stuff that you're doing, the time just flies by, and then before you realize it, it's like your time is up, and it seems like it was just pulled away from you suddenly. But God always has a way of giving you warnings. I mean, the Bible talks about it, says warning comes before destruction. And she said it. You get clues over time. Sometimes we ignore the clues for the future, but she chose to sleep on it. So it's sad, but it's the reality. So those are my thoughts. So you let me know yours in the comment section.